Welcome back to the Public Speaking Horror Show, the podcast where we dig up the scariest, most cringeworthy, downright disastrous moments speakers have faced on the stage. So you don't have to. If you've ever had a presentation and it felt like a slow motion car crash, you're in the right place. And if you haven't, just wait, your time will come. But before we dive in, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Because the only thing scarier than public speaking is a podcast with no ratings. So today's guest is the incredible Pete Tingstrom. Pete has this amazing, badass background. I'm not going to do it justice, but just know he's jumped from airplanes on missions as a Green Beret. He's a 30-year Army retiree, served in the infantry, the aviation branches. So I want to hear a little bit about that from him. But today he owns a wedding and event venue on the beautiful island of Oahu. I have been on his boat, takes people out to the sandbar out there. It's just absolutely amazing. He's just living this beautiful life in paradise these days. And I think he earned it. But today, we're not really here to talk about just his wins. We are here to unearth his story and maybe some things that he kind of wished were kept buried. So Pete, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Laura, for having me. This is quite an honor to be on your show.
Thank you. So thrilled to have you. So before we dive in to the good, the bad, and the oh my God, did that just happen? Let's break the ice with our Killer 13. These are 13 rapid fire questions. Pete, don't overthink it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, number 1. What's scarier, a silent audience or a heckler?
A silent audience.
Yeah, I agree. You just jumped out of a plane, your parachute doesn't open. What's your first thought?
This is going to be one hell of a ride.
I love it. Hell of a landing, too.
Yeah, not looking forward to that part.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Probably crickets.
Crickets? I had crickets, too.
Yeah.
In Zimbabwe. You fry them with some salt. Not too bad.
We could with chocolate covered, too.
Oh, good. Were they cooked and covered in chocolate? Not just a raw live one?
Yeah, they were cooked and covered in chocolate. But I've had them raw as well for survival.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would think the ink could be a problem, but
yeah.
Okay. No,
yeah, they're not. I don't like it.
Number 4, would you rather get stuck in a haunted house overnight or give a surprise TED Talk with zero prep?
I would rather do a surprise TED Talk.
You would?
Yes, with no prep. Yeah.
With no prep. Terrifying.
That would, I love tap dancing when I'm speaking and given like these questions. I didn't expect any of these at all. And you could answer them pretty quickly.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I want to see that TED Talk for sure. Right. What song instantly gets you pumped up?
Rocky.
Oh, the theme song from Rocky? Absolutely. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, awesome. Cue the song. Right. What's your biggest speaking pet peeve?
That, from my standpoint or the audience? From the audience.
From yours.
Yeah, from mine, it's that I have their attention. Nothing's more frustrating than speaking and you're at a luncheon and they're all eating and their backs to you and they're having conversations. That's not the kind of venue. I definitely would want their undivided attention.
Absolutely. Well, what about from the audience? I'm curious now.
From the audience? Yeah, that's from the audience, that they're paying attention.
But if you're in the audience and you're listening to a speaker, what really annoys you when they do?
Just a monotone, boring speech with no inflection, no comedy, no not keeping you engaged and where you're on the edge of your seat. I can't wait till this person says next. to where you don't want to be eating or looking around or on your phone. You've totally engaged with what they're saying or what they may say next, so you don't miss it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm always thinking to myself with someone like that or just reading slides, like this could be an email. Like I'm wasting my time listening.
Yes.
All
Yes, the
right,
old
number
slides.
7. All right, you're about halfway there. If you had to eat only one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, wow. I was going to say ice cream at first, but I couldn't
Uh,
sustain myself on mint chocolate
yeah.
chip ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
So I would have to say, oh my gosh, there's so many good foods out there. Oh, we just talked about pad thai. I love pad thai.
Yeah. Pad
Yeah.
Thai, that'd be a good one. That'd be a good one. Pete's about to go to Bangkok, so I was recommending the street food Pad Thai is the best. But yeah, that's smart because you get carbs and you can like have, some other veggies and maybe chicken in there or something. Yeah, very good. All right. If you're stranded on a desert island, what's the one non-survival item you'd want with you?
My wife.
Oh, that's beautiful.
My
Great.
wife. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Nice. What's scarier, zombies or vampires?
Oh. I would say zombies.
Zombies?
Yeah,
Why?
because so many
Why?
of them. There's only one
Yeah.
vampire I'd have to fight, and zombies could be coming from everywhere and everything, and
Yeah.
and and do much more than just bite you in the neck for your blood.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, vampires are definitely sexier, I would say, but yeah.
Been
All
watching too
right.
many movies.
I am. Oh, yeah,
The
totally.
Vampire Slayer.
We're not going to go there, right? Number 10. What's the worst piece of advice you have ever received?
That you can do things off the cuff. You can,
Mm,
but I find things work a lot better if there's some planning
yeah,
involved, whether you're starting a business, whether you're giving a speech.
absolutely. Like that disastrous TED talk you would give.
Yes,
Right?
unless it's some
With
topic
no
you
plan.
really know well. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, and you've given
absolutely.
something like that before. Yeah, that would be tough.
Yeah. If you could have dinner with anyone that's either currently living or has passed, who would it be?
Oh, wow. I'd love to have dinner with George Washington. Such
Mm,
a soldier, statesman, in a very interesting era in our history. I think it would be quite the honor to have dinner with him.
very cool. Nice. I wonder if he'd like pad thai.
I'm sure he would. I don't think he
Yeah.
ever did make it to Thailand.
All right. What's one thing that just really creeps you out and scares you?
Oh boy. I would say certain heights do. Even though I jump out of
Oh,
airplanes,
what?
I'm not afraid looking down from buildings and whatnot. But if if I'm standing on a ledge and
Mm,
nothing to hold on to, then that to me is scary. So yeah, heights can be
wow.
scary. They're not if I'm strapped to a parachute. They're not if I'm anchored down to a building or something. But if I was walking along the edge of that building,
Yeah,
that to me is scary.
totally. All right. I hear you. Last one. You made it to 13. If your life had a movie title, what would it be?
Been there, done that.
Oh, I love it.
I was like, what am I trying to do in my
Awesome.
life? I'm trying to be there, be go to all the places I've always wanted to go to, and a lot of through the internet you see these Facebook sites. Oh, these 51 things I've done. I've done 8 of them, and I read through them. I'm like, I've done like 49 of them. I guess I still have a couple more bucket list items to do, and it's that way with a lot of these lists that I see floating around, and so. I love variety in my life. I love traveling. And so that kind of would be kind of a cool title. Been there, done that.
I think it needs to be a book. Maybe you write a memoir of your life. I see it. I see it as a book.
Could
All right.
be.
Well, you survived.
Thank
Congratulations. You
you.
survived the Killer 13. So now, like, the real horror story begins because
Yes.
every speaker, right, has at least one moment they wish they could erase from existence. So, Pete, take us back to that story and how you got there, what you learned from it. I know you do a lot of speaking, so I'd love to know. Set the scene for us.
Yeah, for me, I have a couple, but the last one that I had was one where I should have got with you before it to be more prepared, but I thought I was
Hindsight.
prepared. Hindsight 2020 for sure. It was last October, and I'd spent a year and a half planning this global gathering of Green Berets, an event that had never been done in history. We were going to have 2,000 Army Special Forces with their wives, their families, grandparents, friends,
Wow.
neighbors, whoever they wanted to invite on this cruise. And the cruise, we contracted the ship, we owned the whole thing. It was just us and our family of brothers. And I had a big speech that I had to give on the big convention night. We have a big banquet, and I'm talking about the ship and all the schedule and thanking all kinds of people that helped make that cruise and that event happen, from my cruise committee and all the folks that really put it out there and spent, I didn't thank myself, obviously, but it was thousands of hours of work putting this cruise together. And as I'm thanking everybody and I'm looking at them as I'm doing it, and I'm looking through the audience, and I've given so many speeches now, I can half like look directly at someone and not get flustered with what I want to say next. But sometimes I'm kind of looking through people. I'm just speaking, and they feel like I'm looking at them, but I'm really not. Well, my wife was in the audience, and she thought I was looking right at her. And I'm like, I got this very special lady I want to thank. She's done so much and worked so hard, and she thought I was talking about her and getting ready to thank her. And I thank him, Bonnie Cooper.
Oh
Thank you, Bonnie Cooper,
no.
for everything
Oh
you've done. And I didn't thank my wife. She put up with more with what I did to plan, because I did 95% of the planning for this thing. She put up more with me and my meetings and my phone calls and the long hours I took away from her, and I didn't thank her. And I felt so low when she let me know it after that speech. And I went into that speech like, oh, who all do I need to thank? I had an outline. I had, the whole story ready to go. And I forgot my own wife, probably the one that put in that really, I'm almost getting ready to teary-eyed here,
Oh, it's
thinking
okay.
about it,
Yeah.
that I
Oh,
forgot that. And it happened once earlier in my career that I told myself I would never do that again. And I did.
wow. It sounds like that's kind of like your Achilles heel or kryptonite or something like that. So how did you, since it's happened twice, how did you overcome from that? What did you learn after your wife forgave you?
What I learned is that is the very first thing that I talk about or thank during a speech like that. Get those out of the way. And I've been to many like promotion ceremonies in the military or retirement ceremonies where they're thanking their leaders and their subordinates and their friends and all the people that got them through their career, got them to get promoted. And a lot of them now, I obviously have done the same thing, because they thank their family first. They thank their spouse first, and their kids, and because they really sacrifice, especially in the military, the amount of time that we're away, and the birthdays missed and Christmases and holidays. And they really sacrifice a lot, and they're not the ones that signed up for it. You did. And so you really, really do need to show that appreciation to them. And when you forget, not a good thing. I did it on my promotion to captain. back in like 19, that would have been 1998. And I remembered it for all the speeches the rest of the time until I got to this real big one. And this real big one, when I got promoted, there may have been, I don't know, 400 people there or so, because there's about 8 of us getting promoted for that one in this big theater. Well, this was in another theater, and this one had over 1,000 people in it. And so it was a lot more, a little more nervous with the speech. But because I had planned everything and I'd given so many speeches, I was almost over. Even though I had my notes, I winged it a little bit. And there's a lot of danger in doing that, to forget something that you want to make sure you cover and you don't.
Yeah, that's such a good lesson from that. And I think what happens is we think we're going to remember these things. And then once you're standing up there on a stage and you're looking out at everybody, it's so easy for your adrenaline to kind of take over. And somehow that blocks something in your brain and your brain freezes up and you're just not going to remember the things that you want. And so what are strategies you've learned now to just like make sure you remember what you want to remember? Do you have any go-to ways to just kind of memorize and get there?
I not on the memorized side. I wish I would more for like, if it was like a TED Talk type event where you're not speaking off. It might be bullets on slides or just really short type things to get your memory. But that's it. I need that outline. I need those key phrases written in there. And whether it's on a podium in large text, bold or highlighted in different colors, that I don't forget those. And this speech ended up, I do not like speakers where they're just reading from their note cards or they're just reading the slides. That's one thing to be a president of the United States or any other special person that's got, your stands up there with your see-through and you're just talking into this one, you're talking into that one, and you're just reading it. And every once in a while it's pausing and someone's manually controlling the speed to make sure it's, where it looks like they're speaking off the cuff, but they're not. They're speaking a speech. A lot different if you're doing a TED Talk or you're speaking about something. And unless you are just an expert at it and you've done it so many times to where you don't need those notes anymore, it's inbred in your mind. I definitely still need those notes. It's the same thing with the piano and music. When you're playing the piano, there's songs that I'll remember going back to a kid, but a lot of times I'll need that sheet music or it changes over to the here at this time, and it's good to have that reference to look back to if you do need it in that emergency.
I never thought about it that way with like sheet music, that can be sort of like your notes or outline for a speech too, and it kind of tells a story and you've got that beginning, middle, and end and all of that. That can really help. And, you brought up such a good point with thanking people. Sometimes we do overlook that. In fact, I was helping someone with a speech yesterday that actually she's going to Bangkok to deliver it. Yeah, this conference that keeps coming up. And I realized after she rehearsed with me, we forgot to put in a thank you for the organizers and for everyone being there and all of that. And some advice that I give is you need to be able to hook your audience right from the beginning. So I usually advise, don't thank everyone right in the beginning. Don't introduce yourself right in the beginning because that's what everyone else does. It's so expected. So to me, it's a little boring and it doesn't hook everyone, but there is a place that it could still go in, usually following that hook opening. Or even at the end, towards the end, like I just want to, take this time to thank everybody.
Yes.
But it can be overlooked. And I think really getting clear on, okay, who are you going to thank? And you doesn't have to be everybody. Like we've all seen those kind of cringy Academy Award acceptance speeches, and the whole thing, right? But definitely, your wife or that's like the people that are closest that really put through, put up with everything. But But yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it is something that's sort of overlooked. So I wouldn't say you have to, put it right in the beginning so you don't forget it, because you still want to open with something that's going to really engage everyone right away. But at the same time, make sure that you save space for thanking people.
Yeah.
So
And you make a
let me,
great point about the generic speeches. I 100% agree with you on a story, something that you're going to catch their attention with to open up,
yeah,
not the thank you. I totally agree with that way of
yeah.
grabbing that audience attention for sure.
Do you have a go-to that you love to open
I
with?
don't. That's something that I need to really be thoughtful about and produce because whether it's done with comedy or just that go-to story that just
Mm,
gets them, oh, what's next? On the edge of
yeah.
their seat. Because, yeah, I just definitely need to do. Most of my speeches are fact-based speeches, but uh, for a lot of military organizations and veteran organizations. But I definitely could add something like that in there because that would make a difference of grabbing their attention. Because I have noticed at times, and it's one of those things you don't want to see as a speaker where people aren't really paying attention and they're not all looking at you, just waiting for what you're going to say next.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, sometimes you have to have some information that you're sharing with people, but even that can be told sometimes in a more narrative style. But I think starting out a speech, no matter how serious it is, no matter who the audience is, but starting out with some kind of relatable story is. It definitely grabs them because we can't help it. We're all, as human beings, no matter who we are, what our beliefs are, we're all hardwired for that story. So right away, we want to know what happens next.
Yeah. See, that's why I need to take some of your classes and
I
read your books, is
know.
because even though I feel like I'm a proficient speaker, I could get better. And
Yeah.
yeah, you offer great capabilities to expand my knowledge and
Thank
education on
you.
speaking.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I work on it too, getting better, and trying out new things. But and sometimes I try different ways to hook people in the beginning. Sometimes a question is really good, or yeah, a relatable joke, something like that, or a quote that I love. But nothing really to me grabs everyone like just starting right in with that story, whatever it is. Like it was 1998. I was at 30,000 elevation. And I was looking to, we just want to know, like, right, what happens next. So I think that's awesome. So we got to know, though, before we close out, like, how did your wife forgive you? What did you do to make it up to not thanking her? Were there flowers involved, expensive jewelry? I don't know.
Well, I was on the ship, and so they did have a jewelry store on the ship. Uh,
Okay.
but made I spent a lot of time with other people, and people were coming
Mm,
up to me all through the ship, thanking me for all the planning, so on and so forth. But I made special attention to pay attention to her
yeah.
and make sure. And it was near the end of the cruise. It was the last night of the cruise, and so I pretty much spent all the rest of the evening focused on her and thanking her for coming with me and supporting me and letting her know I really did appreciate all that she did or sacrificed when I was just so busy all those months.
That's awesome. Yeah, hopefully she understood when you're up there on the stage, it's easy to just forget sometimes the most obvious thing, right?
Yeah, they say it's
So
that way with
yeah.
the game shows. They say you
Yeah.
watch the game shows on TV and you're relaxed in your couch watch like, oh,
Yeah.
it's whatever the answer is, you're
Yeah.
blurting them
Yeah.
all out, and then when you get on the camera, it's like deer in the headlight look. I've
Yeah,
heard that.
absolutely. The most like simple things, just leave our minds. So, but I do think practice makes such a big difference. The more we can rehearse. So we haven't just memorized, but we've kind of internalized it as that song, as that sheet music. I love that because that's really what it should be. If you memorize, it's what happens is if you forget that next word, you forget everything,
Yeah, no, you're exactly
know?
right. And if you look at most professional artists now, they're not learning all the songs note by note type of thing like classical music. They have the fake book with the chord and the words, and they are just filling that in on the, whether they're playing the guitar or the piano. Uh, they're just making it up with chords and arrangements. And then the memorization comes with, like you said, rehearse and rehearsal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. I love thinking about that, and it has come up for me recently. Like, don't forget to thank people, and just having that outline. It's okay to have a crutch. Like we all have, like no matter what it is. I mean, sometimes for me, for my nerves, sometimes it can just be like a stone in my pocket that's just like no one knows about but me, and I just kind of hold it to like it's like I pretend like it's holding all my nervousness for me, something silly like that. Or I'll have a couple note cards or whatever it is. And it's okay like to have that. I think sometimes, I work with a lot of clients that they have their script on a podium, and I always advise please don't read from it. Please don't read from it, right? So I'm getting to that point, but just having it sitting there, and even though like I advise to step out away from the podium, they never look at it. But it's something about knowing it's there
Yes.
makes them feel more relaxed.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go, tell us how we can find you, follow you. Tell us a little bit more about anyone out there listening who's coming to Hawaii, especially the island of Oahu. I mean, you have you're just, got to. It's a must do to get out to the sandbar and ride Pete's boat to get out there. So tell us a little bit more about your business.
For me personally, because a lot of people think, man, I wish I could be Pete and Gina's dogs because they have a great life here in Hawaii. We take them everywhere with us. I'm Pete Aloha on Facebook and on different handles there for Instagram, Pete Aloha. But for the business, it's Aloha Oahu Weddings and Events. We started with weddings at first, and then we started getting all these people asking, hey, can I do a retirement ceremony, a celebration of life? Can I have my promotion? And so we're like, yeah, sure, let's do events in the backyard as well. But yeah, one of my favorite things to do is take people to the Kaneohe Bay Sandbar. It's just heaven on earth, a tranquil turquoise water surrounded by these beautiful, majestic, tall Ko'olau mountain range. And the water temperature is just comfortable, even in the wintertime. And so when everyone's freezing like they are, it's snowing where my parents live in Colorado and a lot of the northern part of the U.S. right now. I could go out there to the bay right in the backyard, and it's not quite bathtub weather, but it's really comfortable out there, and it's just a beautiful experience. You can stand up, paddleboard, snorkel, swim around with turtles. There's a little bit of for rest and relaxation if you want to play. A lot of people go out there to go party and have a good time. But they could do that at www.alohaoahuweddings.com. And through that website, you can see my Instagram and my Facebook and my Yelp and my Google reviews. And you'll see that everybody has a wonderful time, whether we're planning an event. Doesn't matter whether it's a baby shower, doesn't matter if it's a birthday party, and especially the weddings. I've had lately a lot of friends on the mainland either see my posts on LinkedIn or Facebook, and they're like, hey, I want to surprise my wife. We're going to come out to Hawaii in September, and I want to renew our vows. We've been married 25 years. We've been married 30 years. And so now I'm getting friends that all want to come out and renew their vows, all because of the pictures and the reviews that we have online. So it's exciting. Love doing that. It's nothing better than being surrounded by love, and every event is a celebration. And we love that.
I love that so much. Every event is a celebration. Thank you, Pete. Aloha. Thank you so much for being here. But before we let you go, one final question. So imagine it's the end of your life and you have one final lesson or message to share with your loved ones. What would that be?
To give and support each other.
I love that.
I had a visitor who had Hawaii as his bucket list item. That was on the cruise with us. And as soon as we got on the ship, he goes, Pete, pulled me aside. He goes, I'm dying. And I said, one of my bucket lists is to come to Hawaii. I'm like, brother, come. I will show you a great time. And so he came most recently. And, we were having conversation, and he said, hey, I'd like to talk to you. And we walked out to my lanai overlooking the thing. The birds are all chirping in the morning. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And he goes, I need to ask you something. It was like one of those end of life type questions, like you're asking. And he said, do you think it's weird that I want to have a celebration of life while I'm alive? And I'm like, oh my God, brother, that's brilliant. Why, why, why go to the end of your life, depending on, what's going on that's ending your life? A lot of people don't want people around because they don't want them to remember that's the way they looked, whether they have cancer and they're just aging like crazy. And then you want to be able to say goodbye to everybody, and you want to do your bucket list things, and you want to live like you are dying, as that song goes, and to have that celebration of life while you're alive. To me, if you have the opportunity to do that, absolutely, green light, go.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Thank you. And just that whole remembering to give and support others however we can. Everyone's kind of going through their own struggles. We never know,
Absolutely.
right? Sometimes we put on such a facade on the outside, but inside we're all, like going through things, right? So the more we can show love, support each other, take people out to the sandbar, beautiful places, that's aloha too.
And we
So
all have
thank
gifts.
You so much.
We all have gifts to give. Some of us may have more money to be able to afford things to give, and we all have ways that we can give in different ways. And you don't need any money to be able to give of yourself and to help others.
Well, Pete, there's your TED Talk right there. So you can help you put that together. But that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. And, really appreciate you being here. That is a wrap on another episode of the Public Speaking Horror Show. Until next time, remember to speak bravely, give generously, support others as much as you can. And hey, never forget to thank your wife. Thank you, Pete. Aloha.